Hey y'all, I am Dr. Shareece, and this is Spirit Soul Sense Information for Your Soul. I'm going to be reviewing the entire series called Evil. I hate the name. I just have to say that. I hate the name, but I feel like they named it that for people like me who hate the name. Okay. I think I'm going to go through all of the characters, the main characters, and talk through each one and the development. Running through this is going to be my beliefs because I'm doing this review. I do think the show is great, but I don't, it's not that great. It was great, right? It's sort of like an X Filesy, Law and Order type. Every episode they're solving a problem, and weaved throughout is this overarching story that you're waiting to see the culmination. I'm okay with how it ended. The series is over; it's been canceled, but there were a lot of in between things that I was frustrated by. And then my own personal beliefs have been something I've been reflecting on a lot since binge watching the show in a week. Maybe we'll start with Sister Andrea because I saw clips of her on YouTube. I don't know how I got two clips of her on YouTube. I was smitten with Sister Andrea. I am impressed that there is a person that can see demons, like the actual personification of a demon that has, I don't know, 5 foot energy, not a Napoleon complex, but like a, a short person power. I don't know what it is, right? She's tiny, but she is captivating. She is powerful. She commands a certain level of respect, or not respect, because the priests don't necessarily respect her, but she has such a dignity about her. And the essence that she was giving is definitely one of reverence to God, right? I felt like this was one of God's soldiers when I looked at Sister Andrea. And so I was sure that when I started watching this TV show, she would be all up in there, right? To my disappointment, seasons 1 and 2, she was not even a part of. How they even got to a season 3 without Sister Andrea, I don't know. Because if I had been watching this show when it first came out years ago, I would have stopped watching. I'm not sure I would have been enthralled enough by the David and Kristen dynamic to keep watching the show. I don't think I would have. I think maybe once season 3 came out and then I saw Sister Andrea, I would go back and watch it. So because I know that she's coming, I toughed it out. I really felt like in a way I toughed it out to get through some of the ridiculousness of some of the episodes. But she's my favorite character, right? After the series ended and the way they had talked, they retired her in the end. After it ended, I thought if I was born Catholic, right? I wasn't. I grew up Christian, but it was non-denominational. My parents didn't necessarily teach religiosity, right? We definitely had like the rituals of the Christian church, but I don't know, there was so much spirituality pushed to the forefront. Have a relationship with Jesus, have a relationship with God, pray, that I didn't, the religious piece never really was that appealing to me. But I thought, what if I had been born Catholic, right? My boyfriend was going to be a priest, right? He grew up Catholic. What if I grew up Catholic? I wonder if I would have gotten the whispers of being a nun. My channel is called Spirit Soul Sense because I am obsessed with God. I love God so much. And I just think if I had been born in a different time, in a different place, I like to say if I was a white man, right? So if who I am now, like this in this time, if right now I was a middle aged white man, I would be living on the side of a mountain. I would be living on the side of a mountain, right? I would have had enough money to do all the things. That would be the life I was living by myself. I would be living on the side of the mountain by myself. And maybe I would have found a partner, but it wouldn't have been a necessity. I thought, what if I was, I don't know, a white woman? What if I was past middle age? What if in like 2024, I was 65 and I grew up a white Christian woman? Oh my goodness. Would I have been intrigued to become a nun? Because in looking at it and in looking at the way she talked about God and choosing God over a potential relationship with a man who was in love with her, she was in love with God. Okay. Sister Andrea, my favorite character, had me thinking about myself, just so different. Like, what if, especially when they did the episode on mind, what was it? Your doppelganger? Um, yeah, I was like, if I think about the present me, who would be around the same age, what my life be any different? I don't, it wouldn't probably be any different. I would be traveling more probably, but that's it. My life would probably be a lot of the same. I really like my life. But if I was born in a different time, in a different race, in a different country, in a different, culture, might I have been more religious than a nun? I don't know. I'm captivated by it. Okay. Let's go to Kristen. And then we put Andy in parentheses. Okay. Kristen got on my nerves. Okay. I don't know about you, but there was something so dark and annoying at the same time. Like the darkness, I would say, is the heavy part. It's the her during her exorcism. It's her literally being tormented by a demon. The annoying part is when she's aware and discounting that these things could be true. When she's in the thick of it and she can't say anything about it. That's the dark, that's the real part. But then she never really brings those things to the light, and in fact kind of goes the opposite in like trying to convince her daughter not to become a nun, not really believing in demons even though she sees demons in her dreams though. I don't know, I just, the character didn't evolve to me. And then when it got around to the time of her husband cheating on her, okay, I get that. When she confronted her husband about his cheating, his first sentence was, I met someone, which is code for, I want to be with that person, right? And so on my channel, I say cheating is not a deal breaker for me. It's not. Cheating is a sign of a bigger problem. The bigger problem might be a deal breaker for me. But if it's a problem that we can solve, and cheating was one of the consequences of having not solved this problem for however long, I'm not breaking up just because he cheated, right? So I get that Andy kind of made the decision to end the relationship before she did. But when Leland described Kristen and talked about killer, whore, cheater, adulterer, her kissing, the priest, like, she's not a likable character. I think they wrote her that way on purpose. She still deserves forgiveness, goodness, right? I think we still root for her daughters to be happy and live their own sort of fulfilling lives. But my gosh, this one was annoying. And I do not understand why they pushed the David Kristen romance so long. I didn't get it. I understand that there are many priests. I don't know what the percentage is, but many priests who struggle with their sexuality or struggle with the idea of being celibate, and so have their fantasies and are tempted and give in sometimes, maybe a lot, to those temptations. So that part was very realistic to me. Very real. So much of this. I'm a psychologist. Kristen played a forensic psychologist. I was impressed with their accuracy of psychology. It was great. It was phenomenal. The fact that David and her did this thing for so long didn't seem realistic to me, especially given the fact that it's not just sex, but it's sex with somebody else's wife. And on one hand, yes, I know there are priests who do that, but for how long it went on, I'm just like, okay, are y'all getting together or not? If you're not getting together, if he's not leaving the priesthood, why are y'all still writing about this like it's something? I'm not impressed. In fact, I'm annoyed every time they start to give each other goo goo gaga eyes or attempt to kiss each other or allude to. I'm gagging, like not in an impressed way, in a like a. I wanted to vomit. It's so awkward. It's so gross. It just wasn't appealing. I wasn't impressed. I didn't like it. So there's that. Kristen, even her arc in the end, unimpressive, right? There's such a lack of growth in her, in terms of her spirituality, what she believes. It's quite stagnant. And so then her husband, who has been gone most of the time anyway, is now being divorced. And it's like, okay, he was kind of gone anyway. But does he get any credit for having been brainwashed and kidnapped and drugged and still found it in him to not kill his daughter and instead attempt to kill himself? Like, not attempt, but give himself the injection that probably was going to kill himself. Like, I didn't like how they handled that. I didn't. As a person who values marriage very much, I really didn't like how they handled their marriage. Okay, moving on to David. David is a fine man. Okay, it's probably not the best way to start out. Right. His character as a priest, very believable. I loved that he had visions. And it was very intriguing because I don't know if you know anyone in real life who had visions or is clairvoyant or can see things, not just sense things, but see things. I thought it was a very interesting, intriguing description of what it would look like if someone could see, like how it would look like if someone saw things. And so I enjoyed him seeing angels. I wish he saw demons more, but he was honing his craft and meditating more and praying more and all of that stuff that I think maybe one day, I envision a time when he could remote view, look into other people's lives and circumstances and see actually what's going on. I know people who can do that in real life. And so I like the way it was displayed in the TV show. Anything else about David? Their assessor program, I don't know if that's real, right? At the Catholic Church, I know they do exorcisms, but I mean they must do something before they do an exorcism to see if somebody really needs an exorcism. So I guess that was interesting. I don't know what else about David. He was enjoyable. I like the acting. Yeah, that's it about David, I guess. Ben the Magnificent, such a cute character. And I feel like I so rarely see Middle Eastern characters written with depth, I suppose. I did like how they included his own, culture and religion, Islam, as a part of the TV show, and that how the demon that was haunting him was a jinn that came from his culture. I thought that was great. Ben the Magnificent, not really that interesting. I did wish, maybe he could have shared with the rest of people that he was being haunted by a demon, even if he was taking a scientific approach to deal with it. I wish he had explained and described. I wish they had all described, what demons were haunting them or what was happening. But I mean, yeah, I he could have been in a relationship, right? But too afraid of love, I suppose. Maybe if they had more time in another season to dive even deeper into like Ben's mother who died and what was the issue with his father's migraine. I wish he had gotten to talk to his father. We never got to see that. And then maybe even Kristen would have gotten her own arc, or they would have ended or come to this place of peace around Kristen and David not ever being together and just being friends is good enough. I guess. I don't know. Who is next? Leland and Sheryl. Sheryl being open to the dark side was disturbing to witness. It, but it was realistic, I guess, in a way. I think there are so many people who sell their souls. I mean, not literally, who sell their souls to the devil, right? Who have given into darkness to get whatever they want by whatever means necessary. Yeah. Yeah. And I think Sheryl did a good demonstration of that. Lots of people crash and burn, just like Sheryl. Well, she didn't literally crash and burn. She was thrown off the side of a building. And so all the bones, all the things. She died. I thought that was an appropriate ending to what she lived her life like. I think that was very realistic. And you can look at other people who have quite tragic deaths and see, well, what kind of life were you living? Huh. Okay. Yeah, very dark, very dark, very dark. I hated the way secrecy worked in this family, but also realistic in a kind of way that there are so many people who don't share things with each other in real life. And so I can see why Kristen's daughters would not tell her that their grandmother was there. If grandma was like, shh, 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 keep it a secret, because kids are kids, right? They don't know any better. They've been on the earth, what, 12 years? How old was the oldest daughter? I think she was maybe in high school. Maybe she was 14, 15. Know nothing. You know nothing when you've been on earth 15 years. So I get that the kids would, without proper adult supervision, they were left constantly without proper adult supervision, would get into all kinds of trouble. The trouble being demonic activities was strange, especially since they went to Catholic school. that part was strange. But kids get into all kind of things with when they're not properly supervised, especially when technology is involved. So like one of the things I see regularly is kids are the ones that invite. If it's not a family member or friend, kids are the ones that invite their own kidnappers because they've given away their information to this person, this adult man, typically on the internet, who takes advantage of them and their emotional states. Kind of like how Leland was messaging the girls in the Bumblebee game, whatever. Yeah, that's how it starts. You meet somebody who's impressionable, and they give you all the information because they're really sad and really lonely. So Sheryl Leland was excellent. I mean, the actor was excellent as Leland. I Yeah, you hated him. He acted well enough that I was convinced that this is the spawn of Satan. Oh my goodness. This man is like a sociopath. People not believing Kristen that this is a dangerous man, I thought was strange. I thought that was strange. Yeah. And I also thought about, Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite stories, just one of my favorite hero's journey stories. And in the book, didn't say this in the movie. I read the book recently. In the book, Frodo talks about Sauron looking fair, as in attractive and beautiful, but feeling foul. And I just have a hard time imagining that someone like David couldn't tell that Leland was so dark and negative and evil. Yeah, I have a hard time with that. But also with like everybody else who encountered Leland, were they so cut off from their own intuition that they couldn't tell that this was a dangerous man who meant only harm? Even the psychiatrist, you gonna cut your hand and sing some weird creepy song and watch a video of somebody, not a video really, but like the animation of someone being chased with a knife. That doesn't really make sense to me. Like if I was there in that room, none of that would have worked on me. I could understand how Leland could get, one of the anti-feminist men who wants to shoot up the place to do like increasingly dangerous things, right? Because a therapist, how do they call it? When you break down therapists into two words, it's the rapist. Because people like me who are adept at mind, not mind control, at controlling our own mind, at the discipline of paying attention to our thoughts, regulating our emotions, and working with other people, we can drop subtle clues to get people to do things. Okay. And so you have to pick somebody who has good values, right? Who is a good character. Otherwise, you get someone who's dangerous, like Leland, and people not being able to tell that he was dangerous. It's like, this is so late for y'all to catch on that this man is dangerous. This is really wild. I am surprised that Leland was able to get through his exorcism without dying. I did think they didn't really explain what he was doing with other people's bodies. But I guess he was draining their blood and brain stuff. And is that what they were juicing up on? I don't know. Listen, so weird, so dark. But overall, I really feel like the show did a good job on explaining good versus evil. I think it's interesting that even though we saw demons and angels, they never tried to show us God. I do think the best shows that depict God as a black woman, like that feels like the best fit for God as a black woman. Like we are made in God's image, and the first peoples on earth were black, and a black woman just fits so much with the idea of creation. But they never showed a God or a Christ. They did like the Catholic Church crosses had Christ on them, but that was it. I love the way that they explained evil coming to New York as a feeling, right? A feeling of dread. Even like Leland talking about, no, 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 you don't want to take them too close. You don't want to get rid of all of their hope. You don't want the catastrophe to be too big because that is when they will turn to God, which is so true. Like research has shown that people tend to turn to God when nothing else makes sense. But my whole channel exists to remind you that you can turn to God even though things are going good in your life. Even though things are not that bad in your life, there's a way that they can improve. And I really challenge people to invite more love, right? God is love, God is all, into your life, because it will help add the thing that has been missing. Because if you don't have God, I know you feel a thing missing. And if you don't feel the thing missing now, it's because you're so disconnected that you aren't even have the awareness that there's something deeper going on. But when you are getting ready for bed, you think about the way you fall asleep, what it takes you to fall asleep, the thoughts you have right before you doze off. What are they about? Right? How difficult is it for you to go to sleep? Do you need something to go to sleep? Or do you have the peace of God within that you can easily fall asleep? Taking more than 20 minutes to go to sleep is a sign of difficulty. Okay. So I invite you to look at other videos on my channel. This, I don't do often reviews on music or movies or TV shows. They are like an in between, because I love being part of the zeitgeist and tapping into the conversations that are happening right now. And I do feel like a rise in people wanting to seek God. Or, I mean, I guess a rise in people talking about God. I don't know if they're seeking God, but a rise in discussions about God, mostly framed in Christianity. But I invite you to consider that there are multiple ways to experience God, that there is no one way, even though there are lots of religions that will say they're the only way, that you can develop your own relationship with the Lord, the good Lord, and that developing your relationship with God is one of the best ways to thrive in this world, because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And without the mind, body, soul focus, right? Without feeding your soul, look at my community tab for things that feed your soul, then I just don't think you're really experiencing the depth of what life, like your lifetime, has to offer, if you're just going off of it based on yourself and never ever tapping in to a higher power. So that's really my invitation to you, and why I wanted to do this review, because I love God, and I wondered if I was more religious than I think. I have my rituals, right? There are a lot of things I do that are regular occurrences, things that I do. Um, but it made me, this TV show Evil made me appreciate Christianity even more, as being this absolutely beautiful thing that man has, all their dogma around, but the story of Jesus specifically, um, that's the best hero's journey story ever, right? That's the one. And then he died for our sins. Oh my gosh. Lives into infamy. So, I think Jesus is a homie. That's how I view Jesus. But I do think it's a great pathway to God, to oneness, to love, to peace, and to joy. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I've said a lot of things. Let me know your thoughts on this TV show. If you watched it, if you didn't watch it, if you think it's stupid, if you thought it was great. I had a conversation with one of my sisters about it. That was great. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Stick around for other videos about God. So subscribe for those. And thank you for watching.